start in just a second. Here we are, G4 Guitar Teacher TV once again. David Hart's my name, and what I'm going to do today is today is the Mastermind Group, and the idea of a Mastermind Group, which goes back, I think it originated from what I read, was with Napoleon Hill a long time ago, 50, 60 years ago, whenever he wrote his book. The idea of a mastermind group is that we just work out things, we share experiences, we sort of try and brainstorm ideas, and it's not really about me just telling you how to run your businesses or how to teach, which is our normal format, giving you advice on what to do and what not to do. The mastermind group is really about just getting out of that paradigm and really thinking outside of the square and coming up with ideas and letting the ideas get silly. I read, this was a while back, but I was reading about how in a typical scenario of a mastermind group or an ideas group, if you like, to generate ideas, it's really good to get silly, to go bizarre, to sort of throw things out there that most people would think were totally off the planet. And the idea is that they lead other people to think of ideas, and we can get the ball rolling from there. So really what I want to do, I've always got ideas, as you know, so I always have ways that I can get this rolling. But I just want to see, first of all, if anyone wants to start, if anyone's got anything that they want to raise or talk about in terms of, you know, ideas for teaching, teaching guitar, for G4 guitar, whatever. So anyone want to...
New ones, David?
Sorry about that. Sorry, Ben.
You're only looking for new ones?
Yes. Or expanding on current ones.
I was just thinking, I'm most excited about the apps and Shane's idea of having some backing tracks.
Yep. Okay, excellent. All right. So the backing tracks and the apps. All right. So
I've got a...
Yep.
I've got a question. Well, this might not be so much an idea thing, but I've just noticed that at 70 students there seems to be a little bit of a plateau. Like not that it's stopping, but it just seems the numbers seem to be sitting around there. I'm just wondering if you'd experience that sort of thing, you know, and whether it was just a thing that's worth you know, thinking about.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. Okay, so a 70 student plateau. No worries. I'm just going to note these down, and then I'll sort of work through them, and we'll you know, see what everyone's got to say, and sort of expand out from there. Any other topics you guys want to throw up? That'll get us started. Okay. Yes, sorry.
I was going to say maybe the idea of unification of premises, you know, appearances and things. Just maybe think about it so we can get it, you know, a codified sort of G4 theme. It's like you look into a store and go, oh, this looks like a G4 store. Yeah? Okay,
fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so getting a G4 sort of design, would you say, like a layout?
Yeah.
Okay. Layout design. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. And I'm going to add one idea here, and that's importing from everyone. One of the things that, you know, obviously, you know, my role, as far as I see, I've got a couple of roles. One is the vision for G4. So I see the bigger picture. I see where we're going, how we're going to look in, you know, 5 years from now. That's part of my role. My other role is to make sure that happens by taking action every day and doing things to help to sort of grow and expand into that vision. And the third thing is to be really listening to you guys as to what it is that you need to move forward. So I take that lean startup kind of strategy and apply it where I'm constantly looking at the things that you guys are raising and the questions and the issues and the challenges, because the challenges that may occur for you guys might be very different to the challenges that I faced. You will face a lot of similar challenges, and hopefully the solutions are already in place for that. But there are other challenges that maybe I didn't face just because of my personality, because of my own experience. So that's where listening to you guys and going, okay, well, these guys do need this. I didn't need it, but they do need it. And I'll give you a recent example, a good example, and that's the parenting guide. And the parenting guide, I think, is absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, I didn't need it. It wasn't really something I needed as part of my arsenal. And that's because I had I just had a way that I did things with parents in communication. It's not saying that the parent guide wouldn't have helped. It probably definitely would have. But for me personally, I didn't really have experiences with parents not understanding, or students not practicing, or students dropping out. I didn't experience that very much. So it wouldn't have made a much difference to my teaching personally. But I understand that was off the back of 20 years of experience. Had I had that in the beginning, it probably would have saved me a lot of dropouts and a lot of grief. I can really, especially that first 5 years, had I had something like that parenting guide, it would have made a huge difference, I'm sure, to my teaching. So these are the kind of things that from where I'm sitting, I need to be listening to you guys and understanding. Okay, so let's go to the first thing, backing tracks, which is great. So backing tracks, what kind of things do we need? What sort of backing tracks would you want? What just a couple of things? I'll start with Ben. What would you want as some backing tracks for your students?
Well, one of the very basic things that we mentioned, but this is kind of depending on when and whether the app has this built in, but something that has some easy metronome speeds built in, so they don't have to think, how much should I be putting up? When? How many times should I be playing this? We can just have, here's a certain number of bars for this, then a small gap, 1 bar lead in, a certain number of bars for this, and that can very clearly lay out what we want them to do in terms of metronome use and things like that. And then also just some simple, maybe click along and play along things. So it's just 4 C chords, 4 G7, 4 G, 4 G7, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right. So some beats, so to speak. So even with real drums or something going on behind at metronome speeds, and a set number of bars, so they know, okay, well, I have to do this for 4 bars rather than 1 bar, which is what they like to do.
Yeah.
I did it once, I can do it. No, you need to do it.
And some references for the different rhythms as well. So once we've got the play along things, because I did have one student who came back with doing 8th notes as right. So just so they could go, am I doing this right? Oh, it's meant to be even. There we go.
Yeah.
Can I just say I've had a student like a 7-year-old who found the backing tracks in the PGM method really inspiring. He's pretty much gone through. We were talking about 7-year-old. He's pretty much gone through the whole PGM book 1 just on the back of those files that you find on the CD, and he's found them like really effective, and that's really inspired him to go. So yeah, I think the depending how we phrase it, the back tracks would be really good.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think some students will take to it. Yes, Anthony.
Sorry, just an idea. Some of the things I've seen, I don't know, you can do the backing track, and then just underneath on your file, you could do a tablature as to what notes you want them to play. Now, I don't know whether you'd be able to, but in that tablature, whether you do it in whatever key you want to, you choose your key, and then you might be able to choose, like if you choose G, then there's half a dozen songs come up, with that, or you can choose from half a dozen different songs to play those notes against those keys. I don't know whether you can do that or not, but
yeah,
I've seen something like that.
So examples. Is there something like that around? Have you seen?
I have seen it. I'd have to have another squiz around of what I've seen, but there's certainly I've seen the video of them playing. I think it's on Guitar Licks or Tricks or something like that, and you've got the tab underneath of the Hendrix lick or something, whatever. So I'll look it up and send you some info. I don't know whether it can.
Right. Yep.
I do.
Yeah, because you can get there's software programs that'll do it for you, and having a video and having it presented at the bottom would be good. I think having obviously we've just got to do it in stages, but perhaps having some audio to start with.
Yeah, that's all you would need. It's just the audio, I think, with the backing track with the tablature underneath for what notes you want them to play.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great.
That would be very easy on the app, wouldn't it, David? Once it eventually much
It
easier.
would be, yeah.
Backing tracks, you go into that, and it'll have this skill-related backing track, and then here are some examples where you're using that skill progressively more difficult.
Yeah.
How is the progress on the app going, by the way?
The app is to make an app. The quote I've got for the kind of thing that we want to do is about $50,000. So they're not cheap if you want to have them designed to things that you want. If that's what we've got a big list of things that you want done. If you want to take shortcuts, yeah, you can get lots of kind of compromised type apps made for a lot less. You can take things off the shelf. The kind of thing that we're talking about, you know, the list of things that we've got, I presented it to a couple of guys, and yeah, we you know, different people, different quotes, of course, but you know, the lower the quote, the more the dodgier it gets. Sort of like, oh yeah, we can do it for a couple of grand, and can't promise this, can't promise that. And it's really, for me, it's one of those things where I don't know if any of you guys have had any experience building apps, but I don't have any experience building apps. And you know, you hear that kind of, it's a bit like going to somebody and ask them to build you a car. You know, to get a car built from scratch will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. To go and buy one off the shelf, it'll cost you $20,000 or less. So if you go and buy a ready-made app, then no, it's not going to cost much to build. But if you want to have all the features and you want it custom designed in your way, yeah, then it's going to, it could. What's likely to happen is that it'll start off with a small quote, and then it'll expand out from there. So yeah, I'm looking to you guys to sort of come to me with answers. If any of you guys know app builders that can do something, yeah, for sure, I'm totally open. So until I can get that, I'm not going to commit to something that I don't know enough about or have anybody. Because so far nobody's come forward and said, look, I've got a guy who can do all this for cheap for us for a couple of grand.
Anthony seems to be... Sorry, after you.
Oh, sorry, go, Ben.
No, I was just trying to say Anthony's got his hand up, but it doesn't matter.
I've got my mate that's shifted last year to the Philippines, and his company's called Camel and Straw, and at the company that I work for now, we were quoted about $80,000 to do what we wanted to do, and Hodgie did it for about $4,000.
Brilliant. That's what I want to hear.
An app builder, mobile apps, websites, integrated advertising, all that stuff. So I'll send you his details and let you have a chat to him.
Yeah.
See where it goes. Up to you.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, the last guy I spoke to was through a friend that I've got in Thailand, and basically I've got quite a few friends in Thailand because I've been over there a few times. But these guys are students of IT. And one of them is actually working for a company, and he went to his boss and said, hey, can you look after these guys, blah, 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 the usual thing. And he's come back to me and had a look at everything, and he said, you know, $5,000 is the absolute cheapest, but we would be cutting a lot of corners for you, you know, et cetera, et cetera. He said, but it's more, it could be as much as $50,000. And so I said, well, it's, you know, I need to kind of know better than that, because $50,000 for an app. And he said, but if you make the right app, you know, you'll sell thousands of them and you'll make lots of money. And I said, yeah, well, it's a bit like a hit song. You know, a hit app is very much like a hit song. The guarantee of a hit app is very, very small. And it's not that and as I said, we're not really building the app to be a seller, a bestseller. We're building it as a tool for our students and teachers. Yeah. So it's
that, David.
What's that?
I was going to ask, are we kind of thinking about two apps now? Because with all the material that could be included on it, it could be something that stands alone as well as something that we provide to students.
Well, the problem with see, this is, again, I'm of the thinking, and I've, you know, even though I'm not an app expert, I have sort of read a fair bit about apps and different things, and the apps that work the best are the ones that are very simple. They don't have 25,000 different features in them. They really, a good app does one thing very well. And so that's my other concern, is that we're going to try and cram this app with all these things that it can do. I just look at, for instance, the Justin guitar in the UK there, his app for the metronome, which is good. It's a good metronome app. I like it. And he's got but you've got to click through kind of like almost 4 levels to change the things that you need. So in other words, the only real reason I would use his app, that particular app, and for myself, is to have the crescendo or decrescendo. So, and that feature, you've got to literally click through 4 levels to get to change it. So if you're going sort of from 60 beats per minute up to 100 beats per minute, and then you want to change it to 80 beats per minute to 100, you've got to keep going through these 4 screens and go back and forth. So it's quite laborious. What I really would like is an app that just has that feature, and doesn't have I don't have all these extra things that I have to go through. So does that make sense, having a simple app?
It was kind of that side that I was more leaning towards, saying if we had 2, because then we could have the student one as the kind of beta one, and we'll just have very small amount of features, build as we want, and see if it gets better. But then obviously if the app design doesn't work like that, if it's either have it done and you can't do updates, or if we could repeatedly update it, then that would be good. But
yeah.
What exactly is the sorry, David. What exactly is the features that we want from the app? Like, what's the main thing that we want it to do exactly?
Well, that's a good question. I've got a list of things that different people have said, but as far as the main thing that people want, I'll just bring up my list.
I think a good metronome and tuner is a standard, isn't it?
Well, the metronomes are out there. I don't know why we would need a metronome or why we would need a tuner, because it's already done. We don't need to reinvent, things just to say, hey, we've got our own.
Yeah.
If it's a lot of effort, we don't. But I do find a lot of students asking me, is this any good, is this any good, with lots of different ones. And I think if we just had one that we had, they wouldn't ask. They would just use our app, and it has a good, solid metronome and tuner.
Well, look, I can recommend some good metronomes, some good tuners. So
yeah, I sell them myself. So and they're just the best. That have one good metronome. We sell the Snark, and then also a little, just a little metronome, a tiny little MIDI, thingy metronome, and I just sell them for $15 and $30 a pop, and they just work better than anything I've used. And I use them myself, so yeah.
Yeah, standalone metronome are good.
And that's kind of where I'm at. Look, I'm not about. It's like we use the PGM. We can make our own PGM book, but is it going to be any different or any better than theirs? And yes, there are some things that I can add to it, and I do plan someday to do that. But the things that sort of really get me with the PGM is it's got the CD, it's got a DVD. There are a few sort of gaps in it which we've got with the reading materials of the G4 that help to be a bit more progressive, where we can add some extras. But to write a whole book, it's probably not going to be a whole lot better than what they've got. And the same is with the apps, is that the app to have something like we were talking about the practice log, having that as an app. Now, yeah, so the thing that I've found, which I've been testing and works extremely well, if you want an app, because really the only 2 ways that I can see to do it is either to use it as an app or to be doing it manually, and that's writing it down. So some teachers have said, well, I don't know that I wanted them on an app because it's just easy to write it down. So yeah, I get that, no problem. But we've already got that solution, so we don't need another solution for that. But if you want to do it as an app, what I found was the easy. What's it called? Hang on a sec. Easy hours. Yeah. So using the easy hours app, it's a solution. It's not. It's $5. It's an expensive app, but basically, like I've been using it for doing lots of different things. Well, not lots, but I now know how much time I spend working. I know how much time I spend practicing, how much time I spend exercising, and so I'm able to measure the time, and then I don't have to do any manually adding up or anything like that. I can just do a report at any time. I can look how much I've done this month, how much in the last week, how much today. I can send that report to anyone via email, within a couple of clicks. So it basically does everything. So I don't see any reason to go and spend thousands of dollars creating another app that does exactly the same thing. See what I'm saying? So if there are things that we need an app to do that there's really been nothing pressing yet. I haven't come across anything where it's, hey, we really need this app, otherwise we're going to be out of business. If we don't have this app, we're going down, because the guy down the road, the competitors down the road are coming up with a great app, and we're in real danger. So it's all about priorities, and it's about knowing what the next best step for our business is. Is the app the next best step? I don't really think so. But
you don't want to make an app for the sake of making an app, like.
No, it's like people jump on all the different social medias because, hey, you have to be on the different social medias, and they end up jumping around from one to the other. And most of the successful companies, sure, they go out there and they have a presence on each of the social medias, but they really focus on one. If you look at successful businesses, even successful musicians and so forth, they'll either be like a Facebook or a Twitter, or some people are going to Pinterest now. Some people are really big on YouTube. There's a couple of guys that I watch their YouTube videos, and they don't really care about Facebook or Twitter. They just focus on YouTube. Other guys are all about SEO and Google. That's where they put their own. And it's like everything. You can try and be good at everything, be okay at everything, or you can focus on one thing and be really good at that one thing. And I'm not about putting all my eggs in one basket, but I am about trying to focus. And at this stage, the app is really not something that I can see that we need to create ourselves, other than it being a marketing tool and being something to say, hey. The only thing that I can really see for an app, and I've been to quite a few marketing seminars where they sort of promote this idea, is, all that, create an app, and that way you can put a game in it, and then everyone's playing your game and seeing your name. That's really their whole motivation for creating apps, because the biggest selling apps are games. That's where most apps are being downloaded, and that's where most of the money through apps is being made. And a lot of people don't realize this, but the game market is where most people are getting rich in technology. It's the games that are making all the money. It's not businesses like ours and other businesses. They're not making money through apps. Even Justin with his metronomes and so forth, he's not really making money. I did the numbers how I did the numbers was I went and had a look at his video instructions, because when you get that app, you really need to go to the video and see the instructions to understand how to use it. And you could see, I think he's had about 10,000 views or something. So you figure, well, let's double that. Let's say 20,000 people have bought that app. Let's say he sells that app at, I think it's $1. He sells it for $20,000. What's it cost him to create that app? Probably much the same financially. Has he made much money? No. So they're the numbers. You've got to sell 1 million apps for it to really be a winner. So anything, because the question we're really looking or trying to answer here is solutions. And if you think about it, 5, 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-olds, which is our prime market, not a lot of them are going to be using apps much anyway. Their parents might, but some of them are into the technology and like it, but their parents restrict them a lot on it, and they're still not going to be, what I think are big app users. I could be wrong. I haven't done research on it, but I know our daughter, she doesn't spend much time on those kind of things. So, I'm open to any comments. I'm just giving you my opinion here, so please feel free to throw your ideas up.
Well, I was going to sorry, Anthony, go. You've been waiting ages.
Anthony?
Just an idea, because I've just started, David.
Yep.
Something that I think would be probably helpful for me
Yep.
And I know we've got all the bits and pieces and, you know, the teaching and marketing and all that sort of thing, but maybe an SOP, standard operating procedure. So like when you first start, you might say, okay, go to the website, you know, something, and then download those things or watch this video. So something that's a step-by-step as opposed to, yeah, all the stuff's basically there, but, you know, like where to go first and what process, as we were talking about the other day, you know, when I was asking what to sort of do next. So
for teachers or students?
Well, I'm thinking from the teacher point of view at this, you know, because that's where I'm at, but it could relate, I've also thought, to a student point of view, as well as to, you know, do this, do that, do this, do that, you know, really stepped out. So it's an operating procedure. And once it's done, you know, it's there for everybody to use. So I don't know if it's already available somewhere.
Okay, so when you go, and this is a good, I'm glad you raised this topic. So because I need to get an idea of how you're viewing it, because you're not the first one to say this, I have to say, and I'm just wondering where people are getting lost along the way. Because the first thing that you get when you join is you go to the G4 online site, and the very first thing it says there is important. You know, click to download the G4 Guitar Method PDF. So the first thing is download the actual method itself. The next thing is introductory video. Please watch this video. And there's a 12 to 13 minute video there, which really shows you exactly what to do step by step. Then what happens is that below that, which the video explains, it's got the contents, and then it says, please work through the following contents list. You know, training takes around 5 hours to complete. Please click each link to proceed to each training module. So then you go to module 1, module 2, module 3, module 4. So it's a step by step. And what happens is by the time you get to the end of that, then there's a certification test. And I will say 90% of people go through it no problem, don't have a problem. But there are, that's what you're saying there, which is what concerns me a little bit, is some teachers are missing that for some reason. I don't know if they're scanning it or jumping to the wrong pages, or they're somehow not getting to that page because the video. What I find with online, which is one of the biggest things, like I've got a guy just 2 days ago who bought the $79 kit, and because he was in the UK, you know, it was like 4 a.m. here, and he didn't. What happened was that you go to the page where you get access to everything, and what you got to do is put your email address in. And what he did is he put the wrong email address in. At the end of his email, he put it's .co.uk. He put .co.ul. He hit the wrong key. Therefore, it didn't work for him. So he's come back and, you know, cancelled his PayPal payment, or, you know, complained that he paid but didn't get anything for his money. But he didn't realise he made a mistake. So I came on a couple of hours later and said, you put in the wrong email address. That's why. Here it is. Access. So he's cool. But I'm just wondering if there was a step. Did you go through that yourself? Were you able to see all that, what I talked about?
Yeah. To be honest with you, David, I think it sort of comes down to personalities as well, unfortunately.
Yeah. Definitely.
My personality is maybe not to be as, I think Ben's quite perfectionist, I can tell, I reckon, but I like to grab all the information, so it would be better for me, for my personality, I think, if I had a sheet where it said, you must do this, you know. I know it's on that front page, but just to have that as you must do this before you proceed to, and then maybe you go to and say, right, now you go to the teaching section and listen to such and such an audio, or go to the, you know, song section and look at, you know, so you do it as like a procedure, I guess, so that after some amount of time, you've actually seen all the information in a process.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
That relates to teaching and students, maybe. I don't know, just not. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. It's kind of like gates where you can't get through the next door until you've completed this one. So you do this.
You can do it that way, or
it unlocks to the next level and so forth. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. The other thing to do, it could be having you know, like a series of emails that sort of, you know, week 1 do this, week 2 do this,
do that.
3 yeah. So you get reminders of where to go. So yeah, no, that's great. It's good. And like I said, you know, 90% of people get through it successfully, but there are that 10% who, like you say, have different personalities, different ways of doing things, and you know, and that's where it's very easy for me to have a narrow view, to see things from my side of the world, and that's why I always try and get this, and I do it with students as well, and that's what I really recommend. So what we're doing here is what you guys should do with your students as well. Look for feedback, but keep in mind, and here's something that's really important, and took me a while to get, and that is that often what people say is not what they mean. And let me give you an example. McDonald's went and surveyed all their people, all their customers, or many of their customers, and said, what should we do to improve? And McDonald's customers said something like 60%, some huge percentage said, you need healthier choices. We don't want to just walk into McDonald's and see, you know, fatty hamburgers and chips and soft drinks. We want healthy choices. All right, so would salads do the trick for you? Yes, that'd be great. Having salads would make all the difference. So McDonald's expected, you know, 20%, maybe even 30% of sales would be on their new range of salads and all that, which they put in a few years back. Less than 3% of sales salads. Still people still buy the traditional menu. And this happens all over the place, where they're constantly asking people, what would you like? But what they say in an interview is very different to what they actually, their behavior and how they respond. And that's the reason that happens, is because sometimes people don't understand how they make decisions or how they act in the thing. And so the best way to do it is like the Japanese have done a lot, and a lot of very sophisticated companies do. The Koreans are very good at it as well, is that they actually study the customer behavior rather than asking the customer. They look at what they're going through. So an online equivalent would be like looking at the behavior. You can look at like heat maps, where you can see the way someone tracks a website. So it would be really good to see how new teachers come into, say, the G4 online website, and to see what they do and what they click, and even being able to look at Anthony and see, okay, what did he do when he got to this page? Did he scroll down? Did he read through? Did he watch the video, or did he skip the video? Did he go to another page? Was he trying to look for downloads? What was his behavior? And that way you can sort of get an idea of how you should do it, and maybe and he's given some good clues. So I'm not discounting what you're saying here, Anthony, because what you've said is absolute gold. And that is that maybe, you know, having it so they have to watch the video first. Maybe not even putting the video on this site. Send them to the video first. Once they watch the video, then they can access the site. Yeah. So exactly, that's it. So there's some real clues in there. So it doesn't mean you don't ask, you don't interview, and you don't listen. You do, but don't take it purely as your. Don't be reactive to everything that people say. Is really what my point is. So okay, cool. So that's great. Thank you, Anthony. That is absolute gold.
Can I ask one thing with that, David?
Yes, Ben. Yeah.
I was thinking that seems to be mostly about the digital side of it. But also, you might want to have just a quick document about things that you should do, i.e. order flyers, order PGM books, that kind of stuff, because the PGM books really caught me by surprise. Once I found the cheapest one was going to take 2 months to deliver, it might be worth a quick heads up. This will take a long while to arrive. You have to get your flyers printed in time, and this and that. Some just the things that, the actual physical items that need to be done.
Yeah, and again, these things are in the training. It's just
you've added the PGM ones, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like how do we get this as it's a priority for you? And look, they know already that, you know, again, studies have been done that when you read text, you retain 10%. The other 90% gets forgotten. Literally, either you don't even take it in the first place, or you forget it 10 minutes later. Think about a book you've read. You know, you remember half a dozen points from it. If it's a story, a novel, you retain more of it because it is a story. But the actual, you know, details of this kind of information, it's like here, for instance, what you're saying there, which is a great example. And this has been up here for some time. And I don't know if it was here when you first did the training, but it has been here for for at least the last 2 months, and that is the stage 1 teacher training. First page of the teacher training when you go into it. It literally says a little introduction at first, and then the G4 Guitar Method Starter Kit. And in there it says, please note that this is not our publication about the progressive guitar book. The best price seems to be with Sheet Music Plus, and I've got a link to them right there, but the delivery can take up to a month. So you can see that it's all there, but it's something that, you know, probably some people are going to miss. They're going to scan past it, or they're not even going to be thinking about it that much at that point because they're trying to sort out everything else that they've got. Yes, Anthony, go.
Yeah, I did see that, and I found the link. I think that book was $8.95 or something. I did see that and go to that link, but that book does have the DVD in it as well.
It does, yeah. It's the exact same version. Yeah.
But the point that Ben was making is right, because I think, because I was thinking about how do I make up my folders, where do I get the sheets from to make them up, but then I think when we were talking the other day, we only get that extra stuff once we do the franchise.
Which extra stuff? Sorry.
To be able to make up the folders and to get the artwork for the flyers, because you said you've got the artwork and I put, you know, Roger's music or whatever on. So
but for the flyers, yes, but for the actual GFOG method, it's all there. Yeah.
It's in the in the folders. Yeah, and I've downloaded all of those. But as I say, maybe just a little bit more structured procedure. You know, okay, to make up a folder, go here, print these. I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's in there, but as I say, I'm kind of on information overload at the moment, so I'm looking for a little bit of structure.
Yeah.
David,
okay.
what you said about text, I think it would be really useful to have this as maybe a slight, just a calendar thing. Because if you have an image of just maybe a G4 year and you think order flyers, do the flyers, get the students, you'll need the PGM books by this time when the students arrive. Because when you had your weekly schedule, that was brilliant, just looking at that thinking, oh, so this is what I should be doing every week.
Yeah.
Made it all so much clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of a even just assuming that everything's sort of set up, even just like, okay, in one standard week as a G4 franchise, these are all the items that you need to complete. And we could almost just have that as a checklist, like, oh, have I done that? Oh, have I made sure the place is clean? Oh, have I ordered the PGMs? Oh, have I made sure there's enough folders? Like, if that were all just on a single, concise list that I could just whack up on the wall and go like, okay, is this done? Yeah, that'd be great.
Great. Excellent. So
does that mean, because the thing that I was thinking was, how long is this going to take me to set it up? And, you know, so, you know, do you have, like, so maybe we do that over a 3-week period or a 2-week period so that everything gets covered, or a month, so that once you've got to the end of that month, you're actually ready to, you know, hopefully you'll have some kids or whatever to start with. I don't know how long it takes, you know.
Right. So like a preparation checklist. Say, well, this is what you need to have in place before you even start teaching, and this is how long it's probably going to take you. You know, as far as ordering the books are concerned, you know, I guess it depends on where you're located, and you know, because I know the delivery varies. But if we say, you know, with the PGMs, really, my take on it is that just run down to your local music shop or buy them on Amazon for $20 or wherever, so you get a few in your hands by next week, and then get your big order from Sheet Music Plus. Yeah.
Why don't we order 250 or 300 or 500 here in Australia? And
well, that's what the guys in the UK are already doing, and that's great. Yeah, just get together. All you want to do is just get together and say, oh, I need this many, I need this many, I need this many. Okay, let's place an order. Get it dropped off at one of your schools, and then distribute it from there. So, I guess there's postage involved as well there, so you got to think about that. Yep.
Sorry, go on, Ben. I've forgotten what I was going to say then.
Oh, I was done.
Okay, great. All right.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
yes. You were talking about that there was some extra bits and pieces that you like to that we've got in the you add to the PGM.
Yeah.
Have you done those as maybe like an insert on the pages, or where you can actually stick a sticker or something on there and say go to exercise such and such?
Good idea. Good idea. What we haven't done that yet, but what we mostly because I haven't personally tested it. But what I generally recommend is that they use the reading materials from the G4 guitar reading materials, print it all out, give them the whole thing, or they can do it online, even it doesn't matter. But yeah, print it all out, give it to them with the PGM, and then they can start. That it's very obvious which exercises are at what level, and you just ask them to work through it, and you can even tick them off as well as you go and say do this one or this one. You could put it into the PGM in order, maybe staple them in, but I think it's probably more work than you don't really need. I would just print out the G4 guitar reading book, staple it, and then just add it to the materials and go, okay. And yeah, because what happens is the biggest problem with the PGM, same with the Mel Bay, and I go back to my early years of Mel Bay, everybody just about, and I remember when I was teaching the Mel Bay in the early years, what happens is students get to this, where they combine the notes. So they take the first 3 notes, E, F, G, and then they take the B, C, D notes, and then bang, they've got all 6 notes together. And it's quite a leap to go from learning 3 notes, very simple, and then learning another 3 notes on the next string, which really replicate because they're in the same position. So, and then bring them all together, bang, and they're crossing between strings and trying to play a song at the same time. It's a big ask, and so the idea is go E, F, G, add 1 more note. Let's just add the B, and then now let's add the C, E, F, G, B, and C, and now let's add the D. So you're introducing 1 note at a time rather than 3 notes or 6 notes altogether, and that helps them to step up, and it builds confidence. It's that lowering the steps or putting more steps in between, and that's really that's been the secret to my teaching, is that I break things down as small a steps as I have to. I'll keep going down to a smaller step until I find the step that works for that student. And if they say they can't do something, rather than keep pushing them to do it, I go, all right, well, let's do something more, simpler. Let's break this down. So if you can apply that as a general rule to your teaching, you'll very rarely lose students, and you'll build confidence quickly, because the fastest way to lose a student is to break their confidence. And the way to do that is to give them things or push them on things that are too hard all the time, because they just think, I can't do it. It's too much. So it's the same with your teaching. A lot of the teachers say, oh, I don't know about group, etc., and my answer to that is, don't jump in the deep end and teach 5 people at a time. Just start with 2. You've started your intros, now put 2 people together and just get used to teaching 2, and then when you're used to pairing, then see if you can add a 3rd person. Or you might have 2 over here or 2 over here, you think it'll go well together, so bring them together. So rather than sort of, all at once, just step up slowly. Okay, that's great. I think these are some things that I'll add to my list and will help us to develop things. Preparation, timeline, checklist. I think it's something that would be good, and maybe even a video, to explain how to do it and what to do. Okay, so I'm just, Cynthia, are you there? Can you hear me? Can I hear you? Cynthia's joined us today from northern New South Wales. I'm not sure if we've got any sound there though. No, Cynthia, your mic is muted, so if you're trying to talk, you just need to unmute your mic. No, okay. There you are. Okay, good. How are you, Cynthia? Oh, it's muted again.
Can you hear me now? Hey, I'm good, mate.
I can hear you now.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. It's good to see you.
Yeah, no, yes, it's good to be here. It's nice hearing everybody's opinions, and I'm sitting here with a burning question, as per usual. Please just ask. just ask obviously your worldview kind of. What's our Anthony? Anthony kind of like asked the question that, you know, in terms of personalities, that made me think about the cultural difference. I'm hoping won't touch. Wondering how many people do we have? Would you have any idea how many teachers, for example, that mindset?
Cynthia, it's really hard. We can't. We're only hearing every second or third word.
Maybe just
yeah.
type the question.
Yeah, maybe if you can type it in. I don't know if you can see on the side, but yeah, we're not getting enough of your audio to be able to hear what you're saying. So feel free to type it in, and then yeah, I'll come back to it in a minute. All right, so
I've got to go, Dave. I'll catch up with you.
Yep, great. Thanks, Anthony.
See you guys.
Okay, all right. So let's just have a look now at what we were talking about here. Remember that I want to try and stay on the idea that this is a mastermind group. So what we're trying to do is kind of expand into new ideas and new things and different things. These are great so far, by the way. I'm not at all saying that, but just to sort of go more with the mastermind idea, it's if we look at things like, because what Alex has pointed out here is the 70 student plateau, which is something that there are certain points that every teacher will plateau at. So what I want to do to sort of, you know, take the mastermind approach to it is ask what kind of things can we do to grow and expand our business and not get stuck, or what are some of the things that crazy ideas, whatever, that you can think of that might make a difference here. So does anyone have any ideas, any thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I know that the two central factors in growing a business are, one, getting new business, and then two, retaining the client base that you have. So I suppose it's only going to ever be a failure in one of those 2 points that's causing you to stall in growth, I suppose. So in terms of wacky ideas for keeping students or getting new students, I started busking recently in Manly, just down the road. You know, got my flyers there, got my t-shirt on, and just strumming away, which hasn't netted any results yet, but I did it before, and I had a few people walking by and going, "Oh, you teach guitar, that's cool." Yeah, but I don't know, maybe joining a market or something, like, you know, going and playing in a stall or something like that, just down the road.
Okay, well, this is good. Let's go with the kind of the busking idea, because it's not that the busking is not working or won't work. Sorry, it's more that do we need to expand on that? Is there something you need to do? You know, do you need to have balloons for kids? You know,
which I do have.
Okay, cool. So does anyone have any suggestions here? So,
sorry, did you say
Adam?
there was a what did you say? Something about maxing out plateauing at 70 students?
Yeah, if you max
Like
out.
what do you mean by that? Like, can you handle any more people, or?
Well, it's kind of like I just seem to be just gravitating around 70 students. You know, I'll get 2 more students, and then it'll drop back down because someone will quit, and then I'll get a couple more, and then it just seems to be sitting around that mark, which makes me think that which makes me think that because the inquiries aren't really dropping off very much. I mean, maybe a little bit because it's winter. Maybe there's something I'm missing in student retention, but you know, who knows?
Okay, so you're getting students and then they're dropping off, and it's just averaging at 70 the whole time?
It's just sort of averaging out. I mean, most of my students, I actually have a lot more paid subscriptions now than I used to. I've got almost 50 now, so it can't be dropping off that much. But yeah, just the actual physical student numbers are sitting around that 70 mark. So yeah, I'm just sort of wondering.
Oh, that's interesting.
The same thing happened with about 30 and 50, so it might just be a thing.
I've got a slight idea as to why it might happen, David.
Yeah, I've got an idea too, but you go, Ben. Yep.
I was going to say there will be more popular times, And then once you've filled those times, you will still get students in the less popular times, but it'll be harder to fill all those extra times. And if you're teaching, for example, 3 days a week, and you filled all but 1 hour of them, that last hour will be much harder to fill. And some people might come in and think, I can make it, and then they think, actually, this is too tight a travel time or whatever, so I'll give up on that before you really get a chance to get them dug in.
Possibly. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I have a very, very high conversion rate, so it's very rarely do I have someone saying like, "Oh no, we can't do any of those times. I'm sorry, we can't do it." But you might have something with the with them. I mean, yeah, I suppose you might have something with it just being too hard to get to that time week after week and just going like, "Oh, bugger it, it's all too much," and just quitting that. It's look. I mean, I'm sure it's all in the numbers because.
Look at the patterns and find the patterns.
When they're leaving is probably saying it. So there's probably some little median that I'm missing that I need to look into a little bit.
There's a kind of an evolutionary or Darwinian law here, which is worth noting, and that is that if you take a certain amount of animals and you stick them on an island, there's a point where that species will plateau out. There will be no, the population won't grow beyond. A good example are ants. The average, ant colony grows to about 10,000 ants, and then they plateau out. They increase their numbers dramatically, and then at a point that stops. If you think about things like Facebook users, Facebook users, they call it the S curve, and basically what happens is at the bottom, then it's very hard to get numbers, and then bang, you go up the S curve. Everyone wants to be on board, and then it plateaus out at the top as the market runs out. So this is very typical in business. Now, there are many types of S curves, and there are S curves that layer over other S curves and all sorts of things. So in your business, you might say, well, what is the top end number that I could get for students in Manly? And if the number is 70, if you did all the demographics and you work out, okay, 70 is it, you're probably going to struggle to get many more than 70 students. Now, there are factors, and what Ben is talking about is exactly right. One of the factors that could cause it to plateau out is the availability of times. If you only have 9 o'clock on a Monday or Friday night for 7-year-old kids, then you're not going to be able to book many students in because of the times that are available. You're giving them options that just aren't really feasible. So, but I don't think that's the case here because you've still got times available and you're putting them into groups and so forth. So, and we already know from experience that having 250 guitar students in Northbridge all coming at the same time is possible. We know that's completely possible. Manly is a very densely populated area. There's no reason why you can't achieve the same. Manly.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that there's no more than 70 students that I can get at one time. I mean, maybe that's just naivete, but it just seems like there should be more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Manly's a hub, so I would say that more than Northbridge. I would say probably double Northbridge is possible in Manly because it is a hub. It's a major hub. It's when you ask tourists who've been to Sydney, what are 3 places you can name? It's generally the Opera House, Harbour Bridge sort of thing, Bondi and Manly. That's about all they know. So Manly is definitely a major hub for Sydney, and the idea is that what you need to look at are what are the things that could be causing it to plateau out. And what happens to some of the things here, which I think is probably most likely in your case, is that the marketing is equaling the dropout rate. So when you don't have many students and you're doing marketing to get say 10 new students a month, and you've only got 5 students who have recently booked in, booking 10 students in will take you to 15 because those 5 students who are recently booked in are probably unlikely to drop out because they're still going through their intro anyway, or they've just joined groups. They're not far enough into the course yet to be at a point where they're likely to drop out. But once you get to a point where you've got 70 students, there's an average dropout rate there of, let's say, 10%. You're losing 7 to 10 students every month, and your marketing has stayed the same. So now you're getting 10 students in, 10 students out, so there's no growth.
Is that
Um,
is that like the numbers, like 7 to 10 students per month at about that level?
no, not necessarily. We were getting 10 a day
Yeah.
with the schools. So what it is in relation to is two major things it relates to. One is your marketing, level of marketing. So as you're growing, your level of marketing should be going up. It shouldn't be staying at the same as it was when you started. You should have this
Yeah.
increase in marketing.
Sure.
But the other thing is that your referral rates should be going up. So if you've got 70 students and you're not getting any referrals, because really what should happen is the referral should equal the dropout rate. So that way it has no consequence. So your marketing is always topping up your numbers. So if you're plateauing out, it means you're probably not getting referrals, and that's
I
where.
certainly am getting a few referrals, but probably not in the numbers that are appropriate.
Yeah.
But that definitely hits home about the marketing not increasing with the student numbers increasing. Just what I was asking before was what, not necessarily what referrals and inquiries is the average, but what is the average dropout rate per month, do you think, for around 70 students, or just in general?
The average dropout rate
Yeah.
for if you've got 70 students, you're saying, or
Yeah. If I've got 70 students, how many students should I, or might I lose in a month or so?
Well, I wouldn't any more than 10%. I would be concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're losing more than 10%, that's definitely a worry.
Sure.
Yeah, and depending on your experience, see the variations between the different teachers, and I know this obviously from having the schools, the variation was quite wide. Some teachers were losing students at a much faster rate than others, and it's the 80-20 rule. Again, the 20% of the teachers I had working for me were making 80% of the profit, or were retaining 80% of the students. So this is going to be really, it's almost a law of nature. It's going to be everywhere you look. And so if you're looking at your school, what you're trying to do is identify which of the students are dropping out and why. What are the reasons? Again, 80% of the students are dropping out, but just 20% of the reasons. So if you can sort of identify those kind of things. But the things that are all kind of interrelated, if you like, within your business, are the referrals. And I've had people who say, where it doesn't matter how many students you book in, how many students you've got. It matters how many of them actually, become any good. You can have lots of students, but it doesn't mean you're a good teacher. Well, I understand what they're saying. I understand the sentiment in that kind of argument, because you could have a very aggressive marketing program, whatever. But if you are getting lots of students, your school is growing, you're doing something well. There's something going on there, and you could argue that it's not the teaching, that the teacher's just got a dynamic personality or whatever. But whatever it is, you keep the students coming back week after week. So when what you're really looking at is what you're truly aiming for is this viral effect, and that's when a business and it's going from what's called a nice to have to a must have, and there's a big difference between a nice to have and a must have. And so I have to go to my guitar lessons versus it's good to go to guitar lessons. I like my guitar lessons. To I have to go. So if your students are not this, I have to go to my guitar lessons. Nothing gets in the way of my guitar lessons. That's when you know you've made it. And until you get to that point, you haven't made it. You're still trying to work out what it is that you're missing. What's that missing? What's that X factor? And I'll tell you how I did it, and what I did to achieve that was, and I had students who just couldn't wait to get to their lessons. They were literally turning up early and hanging around, and what it wasn't me. It was their friends were there. It was a hangout. It was a chance to sort of catch up with the other four people that they were in the group with, because I was forming the groups. I was really pushing to form the groups around friendships and that kind of group mentality. And it's the same as turning up to football training or baseball training or soccer training, whatever you you did as a kid, as a team sport, as a group thing, that you couldn't wait to get to, that's what you're trying to create with your guitar school. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Which is why which is like why the waiting room thing is so good.
Waiting room's huge, and look, this is how so many businesses have done it. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Richard Branson with Virgin, he created bookstores with lounges in them. He was the first to do it. People thought he was crazy when he did it. He had bean bags, I think, originally, and come and grab a bean bag, sit down, grab a book, and read a book if you want. And, in my bookstore. What are you doing? That's crazy. They won't buy the books. They'll just come and use your store like a library. But what he was doing was creating this, because he was, he had great memories of his kind of university days, and he wanted to create this atmosphere of a university campus. And so he was always bringing people together and had this very social approach. You look at Starbucks, it was the same deal. Bring people together in a social environment where they sit down and have a cup of coffee. And Schultz got that idea from Europe. I think he went to Italy and France, and he saw how people would sit around drinking cups of coffee in social environments, sharing ideas. And he thought, well, I want to do this too. And he took that idea back to the US, where, keep in mind that he started charging $3 or $4 for a cup of coffee, when a cup of coffee in the US at the time was less than $1. So people go, you're crazy, no one's going to pay $4 for a cup of coffee. So it was considered a cheap commodity you can buy on any street corner. So the social element is really what you're trying to create. If you want to create a winning business, and that's what I'm doing here and what we do on Facebook, is you see it's a social element. You guys are coming together, and it's not only good for me, for creating a successful business. It's great for you guys because you get to connect with people who are like-minded. You get to share your ups and downs, your problems, your challenges, your successes with people who actually care and take an interest. Because I don't know about you guys, but my wife doesn't particularly care much about business. Neither do really any of my family. They have no real interest in how well G4 is doing.
Except your mum, maybe.
Yeah, my mum's, proud, of course, of whatever I do, but it wouldn't matter what I did, and it's not really, she doesn't particularly have an interest in this business, but she's just, she was in business generally, but we do, we have a strong interest in each other's businesses because we're in the same business. We share the same kind of, thing. We're going through the same experiences.
Mm.
All right, so create a community, create a community around learning guitar, and that's where you will really see things take off for you. That's where you won't be struggling and pushing to get the numbers, and that's where you will literally be getting those 10 inquiries a day, because there's always something going on in your area. There's always a trend or something that the local kids are into or whatever, and if you can be that trend, then yeah, you're gonna do huge. Your business will just take off like nothing else. And that's what I discovered within the businesses that I ran. I realized it took me years to work it out, but I realized that was what it was. It was just creating this community situations, and that's really what inspired me to go to the G4 network, because now I knew I could create a global community with the around teaching guitar, and that's exactly what's happening. You can see that we're growing. We're getting bigger, we're getting more members come on, and that's what you want to do. Even if it takes you 5 years to do it, it doesn't matter, as long as you know that's where you're heading.
Mm.
All right? Create a community. Has anyone got any other ideas to add to this?
I've got a completely different one that I'm just sitting on here that I've been doing on for a while. I mean, if anyone else has anything to say, go ahead. But yeah, no, I was thinking like this is a really big, audacious, hairy idea, and it came out of you suggesting a while back that eventually we might want to have something like recording studios for G4 teachers, because it's like, yeah, I'm a teacher, I get to go and record and things. I was thinking you could almost take that to the next level, like, and just almost have like, because I assume most, if not all, G4 teachers are in bands of some description, or solo artists or something. You could almost sort of have like G4 sponsored tours or something like that, like just having some direct influence on or direct contribution towards artists making guitar-based music and going like, we support these local. I mean, that's a whole different sort of market as well. That's like hipsters and things, people who are youth who are into music and stuff. And it's like, oh, well, like these guys are, it's almost like a record label or something, isn't it? It's just like, yeah. So that was just something I was thinking. Maybe some sort of direct, almost like almost helping produce artists or something, or help them, who are related to it, like directly from teachers. I mean, like not related to it. People coming from the G4 schools.
It's totally. Does anyone else want to throw in? I don't want to hold the mic here. If anyone's got anything to add to that, that's I know what you're saying, and this something that I just read, which was really interesting. In the book that I'm reading at the moment, which is Decoding the Consumer Mind, I think it's called. I've put it up on Facebook before if you want to have a look. But basically, what they were talking about is the association of emotion with a brand, and that's where they're using an example of Red Bull. And how I don't know if any of you guys saw that video of the guy jumping out. He was practically in space, jumping out of the plane and parachuting from literally the outer atmosphere. And the whole time it was a Red Bull, logo there. It was all done, as part of a Red Bull promotion, I guess. But people associate that amazing experience with Red Bull, and we can't help it. Apparently, it's something that we just do, and that's why when people see Michael Jordan and he's standing next to a certain pair of shoes or wearing a certain label, people want to actually be part of that label or be associated with that brand because that particular person is associated with that brand. So this, and that's what you're talking about, is and that's definitely where we're going to end up one day, is where we want to associate G4 with certain, experiences, really, being on stage, playing music, because, to sell they use the example, this is just one example they used, but they used about, having no pimples or having clear skin, which actually works better, and having the clear skin is actually more appealing to people to buy that particular product than having no pimples. So it's just the way that things are worded. The idea of clear skin creates a nice image for them, but when you say no pimples, they imagine pimples on their face, so it's a negative connotation there for them. So how do we apply that to learning guitar? There's some suggestions that learning guitar itself, maybe seems hard work, it's challenging, it's too much. We don't want to be unrealistic. We want to say, yes, it does take work, but what keeps them going might be the vision of actually being on stage and playing guitar and being a rock star, or whatever it is their dream of playing music is. Having fun, being around people who play music, enjoy music. You can actually have two very different images. The image of the student who's slugging away boring scales and exercises day after day, or you can have the student who's having fun, rocking out with his mates, playing on a stage somewhere, touring the world. Do you know what I mean? Different images we can have there. So
yeah, different associations with a brand.
Yeah, and these are very deep ingrained associations that people make all the time, and that's why you don't see pictures of people eating KFC, in hospital, very sick after years of cholesterol build-up and having a heart attack, going, oh, I've just got to have one more piece of chicken before I die. You see young people having fun, hey, let's get the bucket of chicken, or the family or something. You see healthy, happy people. So they create associations to good times They don't actually look at the consequences of eating unhealthy food for a lifetime. So.
Apparently, on that vein, smoking cigarettes is actually, I don't know the actual percentage, but it's a very, very high percentage of smoking. It is actually not nicotine addiction or even hand-to-mouth. It's actually the association with positive memories, because when people first start smoking, they were doing it with their friends, and so, yeah, I mean, it makes me think you could almost attach that to anything, really, which is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. The same happens with most, drugs, alcohol, etc. It's that yearning to go back to the good times. A lot of teenagers for the first time start smoking or drinking or alcohol or drugs or whatever, and then as they sort of get older and reality hits in of life, they want to escape the life, so they go back to getting drunk or getting high. Just to try and go back to the good times of when they were a teenager. It's exactly right, what we're saying. Same associations with food a lot of the time. It's escapism. So yeah, it's those connections that we make early on. Look, I had it from, we used to live where we lived, and we weren't allowed generally to eat any junk food, but occasionally we were allowed McDonald's, and there was a McDonald's open across the road. And I went through a stage in my late teens, early 20s where I had this craving for McDonald's, and I thought, why? I don't even like the stuff. But it was the association of it being a good time. Oh, we're going to McDonald's. How cool, And so that, and I realized that because I sort of was studying this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's an association that we often have, and a lot of those negative behaviours are from those associations when we were young. And look, I have positive associations to music, so perhaps that's why I still do it, and I love it. Because I remember a lot of good times I had when I was, teens and 20s, were surrounded by hanging out with my friends and playing music. So. Okay, cool. All right, so what else have we got here? Unification, G4, layout, design. I think we really discussed that before, but that's an ongoing thing. That's really all I can say with the way that G4, everything that we do, is a constant ongoing development. And it's like, Google always talk about being in beta phase. Everything in Google is beta. Nothing is alpha with Google. So, what we're using here is not perfect. Google Hangouts are not perfect. There's still a lot of work to be done here. We've had Cynthia earlier, we couldn't really hear her properly. Sometimes I can't hear you guys properly, whatever. But it works pretty well. And, that's really, it's ongoing. And once they fix these communication problems, then there'll be other problems like, hey, we want to clear a picture, or we want to be able to watch YouTube videos while we're doing it more easily or something. And then they've got a lot of these features, by the way. Okay. So has anyone got any comments, questions? Otherwise, I'll throw up now.
While you're in a gap, I was just going to say Cynthia did type her question down. Do you want me to read it out now?
Yes.
She was just saying, how many people are there in G4 from a non-Western mindset?
Okay, just in regards to Anthony's point about different personalities. Okay, well, we do have a few. We've got a couple of guys from South America, or Central America as well. We have, I guess it depends on how Western we're talking, but Joachim is from Norway, and working with Joachim, I noticed there are different personality traits and different things for the way that he operates. I think you guys in Europe would notice that difference. English from the Germans to the French to the Dutch, you all have slightly different ways because of the culture. Things are going to be different there. Just so you understand, Cynthia's from Africa, so yeah, she notices obviously differences. She lives in Australia now, but is from Africa. So yeah, she sees things different. And one of the great things, and it's a shame that Cynthia wasn't able to tune in here, but one of the great things about Cynthia is that she's she's very much a community person. And I think maybe that's part of her culture. But she's all about building a community, and really that's what she loves about G4 is the fact that we focus on that community thinking and bringing students together to play together. It's not just about, hey, have a group and make more money. It's about forming these little groups of people who may be friends for life. And if you can do that, and you're very good at that, you're going to have a huge career, because this is really, and I didn't get this actually, I've done it throughout my life, but I wasn't really aware of it until G4, that how powerful it really is. But once you start becoming a connector, you become a very influential person, and what that does is you can use it for good or evil, whatever you like. It's always your choice. But bringing people together are what connectors do, and it's really what our communities are based on. And if you want to be successful, politicians, that's what they do. They're connectors. They network with lots of different people in very influential places, and depending on who you network with and the kind of people you surround yourself with will largely determine your outcomes. And it's not just an idea; it's a scientific fact. Been shown many times that you will simulate that you'll copy people who are around you. The people who are around you, diet, a level of exercise, a level of education, level of income, all these things, you'll be within a certain range of the people that you spend the most time with. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I think we've done that. Any other comments on that? We've got one last thing that we'll cover. So the one that I was going to throw up is the input from everybody. And this is where, again, it's going to be an 80-20 thing. We're going to have 20% of the members of G4 will be inputting 80% of the ideas and the resources, and the growth of G4 will come from just 20% of members, and that's okay. It's just the way that things are. And we shouldn't feel bad because, hey, I'm putting all this in and these guys aren't. It should be a case of, well, I do it because I want to do it, because I enjoy doing it. So I never ask, I would never ask anyone, you guys are paying members, I'm here for you, I'm here to serve you and make this, I'm here to give you as much as possible in the time that I've got, and improve your business and your teaching, and help you to do things better. So that's my job. That's what I'm here to do. But in your cases, it's completely voluntary. If you do and you add to it, great. If you don't, that's fine. You take whatever you want, learn whatever you want, because you're paying for it, so you deserve it. But the more everybody contributes, and I'm very strong on the idea that when you give and give more than you need to give, more than you have to give, it comes back to you. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the law of the universe. Who knows? But by contributing to G4, you're going to contribute to the growth, and other people then feel that they want to do it as well. Exactly, Adam's put here, you reap what you sow, and that's spot on. And the more you give, the more you will get back. And this is the message that comes from, whether it's you read philosophy, whether you read religious text, whether you just take it from business leaders, they all pretty much say the same thing. You get what you give, and it's that ability to be a giving person with any organization or any situation you're in, that will come back to you. If you think about the people that you feel most indebted to, are the people who've given something to you, who've added to your life, improved your life in some way, shape, or form. I think about, just when I think about G4, I think about you guys who are doing stuff or adding things to the network, whether it's turning up here, whether it's putting together a printout that other teachers can use, whether it's looking for through the materials and adding some comments of how we can improve it, recommending a book to read, anything that you sort of bring to the table, that sort of registers on my radar as even subconsciously of I want to do more for this person because they're giving to what we are. So what we want to do, and what I'm looking for is that if we contribute to G4, so if you think about, okay, here's a solution for a problem that I've got, how can this solution help everybody? How, if I take this and I add it to the network and everybody can actually benefit from it, then that's not only helping you because it's a system that you've created or a resource that you created, but it's also going to add to the network. So we're going to grow exponentially. That's the thing. And as far as, Adam raised the point yesterday on the Facebook group about competition, and if we work together, competition is just not going to come in on our radar, because you look at this is why I went for the network rather than opening lots of schools myself. But when I looked at the network idea opposed to the school, having my own schools and owning and operating them all, I realized that as network members, when you own it, you're going to put in your heart and soul, and where employees are always employees, and it also feels a little bit, as you grow, it's okay if you've got a small operation and you've got half a dozen teachers. That's okay, because you're still personal with them. It's like your group teaching. You still have that connection with them. But once you get to a larger corporation, it's a lot harder to have that connection with people. And so I felt the best way to do it was to do this network approach. And that way, yes?
Should we be, like over here, we have things called like the School of Rock. And those are group lessons where it's not just guitar groups, it's where they have like bass and drum, you know what I mean? Like those kids can go in and like being like a rock band. Should we be concerned about those kind of businesses? Or are we still enough to be exceptional enough to not have to worry about them?
Well, just for the record, they've just opened in Australia as well. They've just opened their first location, and they're advertising everywhere, and they're giving free lessons and all this sort of thing to attract people in. So yeah, it's here in Australia as well. Does anyone else, before I say anything, does anyone else have any comment to answer for Adam? Any thoughts? No? Okay. Sorry, Alex, yes, go.
I say more power to them.
Yep, fantastic, yep. Exactly. I mean, if they're doing it, they're proving that there's a market there, which is one thing. Which is great. You can see in America they've got something like 150 franchises now, which shows that there's still the market of wanting to play guitar or play in a band is still alive and well. We're in no fear of extinction anytime soon. Okay, so Ben, did you have something? I wasn't sure if you tried.
I was going to say I did one very briefly for, I think it was 5, maybe 10 weeks. And it's kind of the opposite of what we're offering. It is just songs. They will give you maybe 1, 2 songs, and you'll just really hammer home on all of those bits. They'll be quite simple skills, so if you already know what you're doing, you're kind of in a big group of guitarists, and you're just working on very simple stuff. And it's a format where they can't point out anything to you. There's maybe 20 people there. And then you're put together in the bands for maybe the last 2 weeks before a set gig in front of all the parents and stuff. And it's very much just do the songs, whereas we're saying we'll make you guitarists, not just kind of you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. We're specialising. We're saying that we're going to take you from zero to hero on guitar in the shortest possible time, and we're really going to focus on that area. School of Rock, great. Want to go and play in a band, go and hang out with some other guys and play in a band, that's where you go. But if you want to really learn guitar, if you're serious about learning guitar, come and see us, because we have the formula, so to speak. So the other thing is that from what I understand of School of Rock, and the reason I don't see them as any kind of competition is that they're kind of operating in a way where they still are a corporation, and they're not really the franchisees have to stick very strictly to the rules. They're not really asking for input from the franchisees. It's not a collaboration. G4 is quite unique in that we're a collaboration of minds. We're bringing you guys, as far as I'm concerned, are very much equal players in this whole game. So you are contributing to the development and the growth of G4, and someone like School of Rock will have a board, of guys who might have been ex-tutors. Some of them will be accountants, whatever. They'll have that board in place. But I can almost assure you the majority of the people sitting on that board will not be guitar teachers, that they will actually be more business kind of people, entrepreneurs, and you know, if they're trying to please shareholders or whoever who's on the other end, it'll come down to profits and really not thinking about whether or not the company is going to be a good company. So to improve for the students, the people, it's all about, are we making enough money? How do we make more money? And once you start doing that, then you really compromise the quality of what you're doing. G4 is about, okay, let's keep this real and have each of you guys contributing and being a part of it. And as we grow, then the ideas just keep coming and coming and coming. And that's really what gets lost in a lot of organizations. And and this is an area that I'm quite interested in, but the businesses through the industrial age up until the last 5 years, most big businesses, most of them still exist today, but they're falling like dominoes. And that's why you can have a company like Kodak, who went broke not long ago, who were worth billions of dollars not long ago, to be absolutely bankrupt and broke. And then you can get a company like Instagram, which only has 10 employees or something, worth more than Kodak was, bought out by Facebook. There's a bunch of creative guys, and this is what's going on all around the world. You look at Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the collective intelligence and information of people from all around the world, and it's totally non-profit. And this is really the trend, and the reason it's the trend is because prior to now, this wasn't possible. It wasn't possible to bring everybody into it because of there wasn't a platform for communication. Today we've got the internet, so we live in a very different world. And those companies who are still operating on the old paradigm, which is what School of Rock are operating on, will still do okay for a while, but it's going to get harder and harder for them. And that's where we are really on the new paradigm. And even though it's still changing over, the communication here is not perfect. Getting the ideas in and sifting and working the ideas takes time. But yeah, that's the premise that I'm working from, if that makes sense. And so I have no fear of competition. The competition, I think, for us is going to be the competition we haven't seen yet. It's going to be someone else who comes along and does something similar to what we're doing, and starts copying our ideas. Nobody's doing it yet, but I can almost guarantee someone will come along eventually and go, what those guys are doing. It'll be when we get a little bit further up the chain. They'll look at it and go, wow, these guys are doing something great. We've got to get on board here. We want to be part of it. So.
Well, at least we have the jump on them. So
we do, and as long as we keep on the path that we're on, we're going to stay ahead of the pace, because it's been shown time and time again. And where companies lose it is when they stop innovating and they stop these kind of things of working together and being creative. They get lazy, they rest on their laurels, and that's what we're not doing, hopefully, and that we won't do anytime in the near future. So as long as we are playing the game, then we'll stay ahead, because it's not about money. It's about the people within the organization. Money is no longer the factor. What happens now is it's the energy and the commitment of the people on the team that will really make it. And that's really all. You guys have come in. You're really just buying into being a partner of what we're doing here, growing. You own your little bit of G4, and that will remain that way as long as you're a member. So the idea is to just, as more members come on, our reputation builds. But it's not just the reputation; it's the input from everybody, which excites me. I'm just looking at the pace. You just look in the last month or two, the number of things that have happened. The parenting guide, the comic book, the improvements to the G4 method, the additions to it. The number of these kind of videos that we've done and training that we've done, the hours of training, the improvements to the websites, the number of flyers that you guys have done, the number of new students you've enrolled. this is growing exponentially. The number of students have been enrolled this year amongst G4 teachers is at least twice as much as what last year was for the same period. So it's an exponential growth. We're heading up this exponential growth curve. So yeah, very exciting.
We have to make sure the success doesn't kill us.
We do. We do. Yes.
Get some systems for when we've got 1,000 in each country.
We're like the internet. We're basically replicating the internet. You know, the internet back in 1993 had 10,000 people or something using internet, and then within a year later it had about 5 million people, and then it went to a couple of years later 100 million people, and then 1 billion people, and now it's 3-4 billion people on the planet use the internet. So yeah, that's what's happening because we're doing the same thing. We're growing exponentially.
So if you had like a competitor call you or walk by or talk to you, just sell to them anyway and assume they're not. Just assume they might be a student and just sell to them.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. Be confident and tell them whatever they want to know. Just be open and honest with them. Nothing to hide. This is the approach. This is the way it is today. You don't want to be hiding anything. You don't want to be playing the game of secrets, and because that's the old game. Today it's really about being, because when you're hiding from your competitors, you're hiding from your customers. So we don't want to hide from our customers.
They really want to find out. They can find out one way or the other. So
they can. Yeah. There's nothing stopping them, and that's the thing, is that by being open, being an open book, you're really going to it's your customers, because there's 10 or 100 customers for every competitor. So you're serving your customers. Competitor wants to copy your ideas, great, go for it. But G4, what we're trying to do is position ourselves so we can't be easily challenged. I don't know what your competitor down the road is going to do. Are they going to offer a cheaper product, or they're going to have bigger groups? They've got to do something to outdo you. But it's really hard for them, because you've got the resources, you've got the marketing in place, you've got the actual formula, if you like, the structure. You've got all the elements, and for them to sort of copy and develop that, we're talking years of development and thousands of hours of work for them.
Yeah, the quality of the teacher I've become since you can't replicate that. Like, they have no idea.
That's right. That's right.
Don't get the network.
They can't replicate the network easily. It's like saying, I'm going to create my own internet over here. I'm going to have a competitive internet. It's very hard to do.
Cool. Very cool. What happened?
In that, lots of altcoins. There's hundreds of altcoins now, but Bitcoin still is by far the number one. And there's, just so you guys know, with Bitcoin, there's ATMs opening up all around the world every day. Bitcoin ATMs are popping up everywhere. The price, just so if you want some input on Bitcoin, the reason the price is not moving is because Bitcoin is being spent now, and when people are spending Bitcoin, they're going to companies that are then turning it back into cash. So this is keeping the price stable, so that you've got this kind of a bit like what Alex was talking about earlier about plateauing out at 70. Bitcoin sort of plateaued out as well at that point, but I predict, and there's no guarantees, of course, you never know what will happen, but I predict that it'll be another jump at some point, that it'll go from $600 where it is now up to $6,000 or $10,000 a Bitcoin. So but this is just because of when you understand the structure of it, which is what I really am impressed with. You can see the way it's going, you can see the trend. So that's the way it is today, guys. We're in the exponential growth curve. G4 is in the exponential growth curve of business. So it's exciting times ahead for us, and it's only going to keep getting better. A year from now, I can't even imagine where we're going to be from a year from now, because the every day almost something new seems to happen. So yeah, I'm excited.
Consistent effort is the key.
Yeah, just keep, any ideas you got, share them. Anything that we can do. Where like some of us, it's like Paul. Paul's great. He put together that comic book. That's just something that he wanted to do and put it together, and bang, and there it is. And now he's put it out so all you guys can use it. The idea of I can't even remember who came up with it. One of you guys put your hand up. It was you, but the idea of having a character, and Jerry. We came up with Jerry. So Jerry's now kind of a mascot for the kids. And then it was Lalo's wife who said, "How about a girl?" Yeah, good idea. So then comes Grace. So you can see the ideas are building on themselves. So.
Excellent.
All right, I better go. I'll be back on tonight, 9 o'clock Sydney time, if any of you guys are around. Have a great day, week, otherwise. And again, thanks for your time. It's great seeing you guys here.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one,
guys.